For over 70 years, the icy grip of the East China Sea held fast to a silent sentinel of World War II. The USS Greyback, a formidable submarine and a terror to Japanese shipping, had vanished without a trace in early 1944, leaving behind a legacy of heroism and a haunting void for the families of her 80 lost souls. Now that silence had been shattered, the Greyback had been found. But what lay within the rusted hull of this legendary warship was not just a historical artifact. It was a scene that would shock even the most seasoned maritime archaeologists and naval historians. The initial dive revealed a vessel frozen in time, a chilling tableau of the final moments of her crew. This wasn't just wreckage. It was a tomb. The discovery itself was a testament to the relentless dedication of underwater explorer Tim Taylor and his team from the Lost 52 project. Armed with updated coordinates painstakingly corrected after decades of mistranslation, they narrowed their search area and deployed their remotely operated vehicle, or ROV, into the inky depths. The moment the ROV's camera eye pierced the gloom and illuminated the familiar silhouette of a Tambor-class submarine, a collective gasp rippled through the research vessel above. There she was, the Greyback, sitting upright on the seabed, a ghostly gray figure against the dark expanse. The initial survey focused on the exterior of the wreck. The hull, remarkably intact after 3/4 of a century submerged, bore the scars of a violent end. A gaping hole near the conning tower told a grim story of a direct hit, likely from an aerial bomb, the event that ultimately sealed the Greyback's fate. The pressure hull, once a symbol of resilience, was now ripped open, a gaping wound that testified to the sheer force of the explosion. But it was what lay within the shattered confines of the Greyback that truly sent shivers down the spines of those who witnessed the ROV's feed. As the camera navigated through the claustrophobic corridors and compartments, a haunting picture began to emerge. The initial shock came from the sheer preservation of the interior. The murky seawater, while obscuring visibility, had also acted as a preservative, slowing down the decay of the organic matter within. Gauges and dials remained legible, frozen at the readings they displayed in the final moments. Charts and maps lay scattered on navigation tables, their markings still visible. Personal belongings, such as books, photographs, and letters, hinted at the lives and personalities of the men who had once called this submarine home. Then came the truly unsettling discovery, the skeletal remains of the crew. Scattered throughout the vessel, their positions told a silent story of panic, desperation, and ultimately acceptance. Some were found near their stations, hands still gripping controls, forever bound to their duty. Others huddled together in the torpedo rooms, seeking solace in their final moments. Still others clustered near the escape hatches, a poignant reminder of their futile attempt to escape the watery inferno. The sight was profoundly disturbing. Decades of seawater and marine life had taken their toll, reducing the crew to skeletal remains. Yet their humanity was still palpable, their presence lingering in the silent darkness. The ROV's camera lingered on the rows of skulls, each a silent testament to the human cost of war. The experts watching the feed could only imagine the horror of the final moments. The deafening roar of the explosion, the frantic scramble for survival, and the realization that escape was impossible. The initial assessment pointed to a swift and catastrophic end. The force of the explosion likely killed many instantly. For those who survived the initial blast, the rapidly flooding submarine offered no escape. The intense pressure and lack of oxygen would have quickly claimed the remaining crew, leaving them entombed in their steel coffin. The discovery sent shockwaves through the naval history community and reignited the long-dormant grief of the families of the Greyback's crew. After decades of uncertainty, they finally had answers, a somber closure to a chapter of their lives that had remained open for far too long. But the discovery was also a stark reminder of the human cost of war, a poignant memorial to the men who sacrificed everything in the service of their country. The ghost of the Greyback had finally been found, its secrets revealed, and its story ready to be told. For decades, the fate of the USS Greyback remained a chilling enigma, lost to the unforgiving depths. But in 2019, the discovery of its wreckage offered a window into the submarine's final, harrowing moments, a snapshot of history frozen in time, but one that sent shivers down the spines of even seasoned maritime experts. What they found wasn't just rusted metal, it was a tomb, a silent testament to unimaginable bravery and a swift, tragic end. As remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, began their descent, the first images trickled back to the surface, painting a somber picture. The grayback lay on the seabed, 427 feet below, a dark silhouette against the inky blackness. Marine life had begun to claim it, with coral and barnacles clinging to the hull, a macabre tapestry woven over the war machine. But beneath this veneer of the natural world lay the stark reality of human tragedy. The initial surveys revealed significant damage near the conning tower. A gaping hole, jagged and unforgiving, testified to the violence of the event that sealed the grayback's fate. Experts believe this was the point of impact, a direct hit from an aerial bomb, likely during a vulnerable moment when the submarine was surfaced, recharging its batteries. This was a critical moment, leaving the sub exposed and vulnerable. The force of the explosion, they surmised, would have been catastrophic. The pressure hull, designed to withstand the immense pressures of the deep, was breached instantly. The interior would have flooded in seconds, a torrent of icy seawater engulfing everything and everyone in its path. Any hope of survival, of even a brief struggle, would have been extinguished almost immediately. But the true horror lay within. As the ROVs ventured deeper into the wreckage, cameras illuminated the interior compartments, revealing scenes that were both heartbreaking and deeply disturbing. The passage of time and the corrosive effects of salt water had taken their toll, but the ghostly remnants of the crew remained, eerily preserved in their watery grave. Skeletal remains were visible throughout the submarine, their positions telling a silent story of the crew's last desperate moments. Some were found at their battle stations, hands still resting on controls, a grim testament to their unwavering dedication to duty. They had stood by their posts even as the ocean rushed in, sealing their fate. Others were huddled near escape hatches, a poignant reminder of their futile attempt to find a way out. The hatches, now jammed and corroded, offered no escape from the watery inferno. One can only imagine the desperate scramble, the hope against hope, that these men felt in those final seconds, only to be met with the crushing reality of their situation. The discovery of personal effects only amplified the tragedy. A half-finished letter, a faded photograph, a rosary bead, fragments of lives cut short, each object a silent echo of the families left behind. These were not just nameless sailors. They were fathers, sons, husbands, brothers, each with their own hopes, dreams, and loved ones waiting for them back home. The faces of the exploration team, watching these images from the surface, reflected a profound sense of sorrow and respect. Even hardened veterans of the sea could not remain untouched by the sheer human tragedy unfolding before their eyes. The grayback was more than just a shipwreck. It was a memorial, a sacred space that demanded reverence and remembrance. The findings offered a chilling insight into the chaos and terror that likely gripped the crew in their final moments. The suddenness of the attack, the overwhelming force of the explosion, and the rapid flooding of the submarine would have left little time for reaction or escape. It was a swift and brutal end, a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of war. The discovery also underscored the incredible bravery and sacrifice of the men who served on submarines during World War II. These were highly skilled professionals who faced constant danger, often operating in enemy waters, far from any hope of rescue. They knew the risks, yet they continued to serve with unwavering. But amidst the horror, there was also a sense of closure, particularly for the families of the lost crew. After decades of uncertainty and unanswered questions, they finally had confirmation of their loved one's fate and a tangible place to mourn. The discovery of the grayback brought a sense of peace, knowing that their sacrifices were not forgotten and that their story would continue to be told. The site of the wreckage became a hallowed ground, a place where memories could be honored and the human cost of war could be truly understood. Experts may have screamed in horror upon peering inside, but their screams were a testament to the bravery of the crew. Their actions are a message across time to never give up hope and to stand tall against any threat, even when the odds seem impossible. The grayback, now resting eternally on the ocean floor, serves as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made by those who served in the silent service. The frozen nightmare within its hull is a testament to the human cost of war, a story of bravery, loss, and the enduring power of the human spirit. For the families of the grayback's crew, the discovery wasn't just about a sunken submarine. It was about the lives lost, the dreams shattered, and the decades of unanswered questions. The weight of that history, the human cost of war, is something we must never forget. It's easy to get lost in the technical details of sonar scans and wreckage analysis, but at the heart of this story are 80 men who never came home. Men with families, hopes, and fears, just like any of us. Think about it. 80 souls crammed into a metal tube, navigating the treacherous waters of the Pacific. Day after day, week after week, enduring the heat, the smells, the ever-present threat of enemy attack. They lived a life of constant tension, knowing that one mistake, one lucky shot from the enemy, could be their last. They were fathers, sons, brothers, husbands, ordinary men thrust into extraordinary circumstances, called upon to defend their nation in a brutal and unforgiving war. The grayback's story is a microcosm of the larger conflict, a reminder of the sacrifices made by countless individuals during World War II. It's a story of bravery, resilience, and unwavering dedication to duty. These men weren't fighting for glory or fame. They were fighting for freedom, for their families, and for the values they held dear. And what was their reward? For the crew of the grayback, their reward was a watery grave. A sudden and violent end in the depths of the East China Sea. They never saw their families again, never felt the warmth of the sun on their faces, never experienced the joy of victory. Their lives were cut short, their potential unrealized, all in the service of their country. That's the human cost of war, a cost that's often overlooked in the grand narratives of battles and strategies. We talk about victories and defeats, about geopolitical shifts and technological advancements, but we often forget the individual lives that were irrevocably altered, the families left behind to mourn, the communities forever scarred by loss. The discovery of the grayback serves as a stark reminder of this human cost. It forces us to confront the reality of war, to acknowledge the sacrifices made by ordinary people, and to honor their memory in a meaningful way. We can't bring them back, but we can ensure that their story is never forgotten, that their bravery and dedication are always remembered. So how do we honor the fallen? How do we ensure that their sacrifice wasn't in vain? First and foremost, we must remember them. We must tell their story, share their experiences, and keep their memory alive for future generations. The grayback's tale should be taught in schools, discussed in communities, and enshrined in our national consciousness. We can also support the families of the fallen. Organizations like the U.S. Navy Memorial Foundation and the Naval History and Heritage Command provide resources and support to families who have lost loved ones in service to their country. These organizations offer a lifeline of hope and healing, helping families cope with their grief and honor the memory of their fallen heroes. Furthermore, we can learn from the past. The grayback story offers valuable lessons about the dangers of war, the importance of diplomacy, and the need for peace. We must strive to create a world where such sacrifices are no longer necessary, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue and understanding, and where the human cost of war is never again so high. And finally, we can express our gratitude. We can thank the men and women who serve in our armed forces, past and present, for their dedication and sacrifice. We can support our veterans, ensuring that they receive the care and support they need to transition back to civilian life. And we can never take for granted the freedoms and liberties that they have fought so hard to protect. The grayback's legacy is more than just a sunken submarine. It's a testament to the human spirit, a reminder of the sacrifices made by ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, and a call to action to honor their memory and strive for a more peaceful world. Let us remember the crew of the grayback, not as statistics or historical footnotes, but as individuals who lived, loved, and gave their all for their country. Their story deserves to be told, their sacrifice deserves to be honored, and their memory deserves to live on forever. Let us not forget the echoes of valor that reverberate from the depths of the sea,